Okay, so cut the nose off of it. We got it sitting back up in here where it's supposed to go. It is a lot easier to put in without that nose on it. So now we're going to take a couple of quick looks around at final fit. We are pushed up pretty close to that. We're all the way up there. We're all the way on this edge here, which we're going to put a small bead rolled edge on that. It looks like we're going to be clear back here. It looks close, but it actually has room to move. We're a little high back there where that notch is, but our top is going to butt against this side. It's not going to go over it, so that notch actually doesn't matter anymore. I've changed the design a little bit. All right, so looks like where we want it to be. I'm going to make a mark up here so we know where this vertical beam is going to be, because our drill hole should be in the middle of this beam. So we'll make a mark up there and then take some measurements to see if we can see exactly where that is going to be. And like I said, we have our line here. We're thinking we're going to bead roll it first and then push this bead bend into it after it's bead rolled. I think that'll keep it the smoothest. So, hold it for me. Work right in the center of this. All right, so our hole that we're looking at is right here. And if we take our measurement and go 6 3/8 from the top, from the back wall, it should be 10 1/4. In theory, where those lines meet, we should be able to drill a hole and it match up to that right there. In reality, it'll probably be about 1.5 inches off, because that's the way life works. We did our measurements based on what we marked on the sheet, and they come right down here to this point, which we've already measured. We'll put a little brass dot right there. We'll drill it out, put it back in the truck, and see if it fits. We'll do this on the drill press. All right. Let's see if we can get this in there. There we go. All right. There we go. All right, cut. All right. Got a screw in here. We took off the other one. And we'll see how good our measurements are. And apparently they are wrong. Let's see. Got it, looks like where it needs to be. Look at that, right where it needs to be. Once we reseat it, it'll tuck all the way down. It's all the way up there, all the way up there, tucked away there. So, that looks good enough for a dinner break. Let's go eat. Okay, we have all our test fitting, test cuts done on this one, so we're going to get ready to bead roll here in a few minutes. This is the one we had on the passenger side. We're going to use it kind of as a template. So what we need to do is measure how far off the edge we want to draw our lines. I think I measured 1.5 inches. I'm going to double check, obviously. And this line is erased, but We did use that before to get this line here. This one comes off that line right there. So, first things first, put our circle around our screw hole, because later we're going to put a more elaborate pattern in here and we don't want to touch that section. So we'll put a small circle around here, just so we know to leave that alone. And we'll measure our offset here. See if I can get this in here. It's about 1.5 inches. I know that ruler's a little bit hard to read. Let's use the larger numbers there. There we go. 1.5 inches down to the edge right there. So we'll draw a line all the way, 1.5 inches all the way around. The hard part, once we start bead rolling, is to actually stay on the line. Let me reach behind you and get a straight edge, because I could use that little ruler, but a longer straight edge give me a straighter line. Lay it on here, and that will also account for any of the waviness in this cut edge right here. Width of the marker. There we go. That's better. Okay. Do the same thing over here. It's a little hard to see having the straight edge on the side close to me, but it's a faster way to get it done. All right. That out of the way, get the short end with the ruler. Okay. And just by the nature of how these corners line up, this edge right here is going to be a little bit shorter than it ended up on here. I don't know if it's there, the panels fit in the ambulance different, or if it's just a difference in how I measured things, but by the numbers, this is where it's going to line up, so that's what we're going to follow. Alright, now the hard part is figuring out what radius we want these corners to be. And I know when I laid this one out, I just grabbed one of these bearing races and used that as a corner piece in here. Now if you make this too tight of a corner, it's hard to go around the bead roller smoothly. So you don't want to pick your smallest one. You don't necessarily want to pick your biggest one either, because you're going to have gigantic corners and it's not going to look right. So I'm going to go with a medium-sized one here. We'll draw right on the outside of it. Alright, looking over it real quick, looks like it's lined up the way I need it to be. Okay, so we put the passenger side design in there, we brought the center of it out. So on the driver's side we want to do the same thing. We want this to be raised and this to be lower. Now we set up our bead roller, we have two offset dies right here, and as you stick the metal through here, it's going to bend it in a certain way. And depending on which way you put your metal in, you end up with your high side on this side and your low side over here. So you want to make sure that you set it in the right way. Now, so our bead roller is an Eastwood bead roller, the 27-inch design. Yeah, I know. Eastwood did not sponsor this video, although if they would like to. I did get the drive system that comes with this particular bead roller. It has forward and reverse, and adjustable speed, and a foot pedal. So you turn it on, you can run nice and slow, you can speed it up, it goes much faster. For our purposes, we're going to keep it fairly slow. Now, this is our scrap metal. I just want to show you real quickly how this is going to work, and then we'll get to use our real design. So you loosen this up where you can get your metal in there, and it just sits on it. And then when you get this spun down to where it contacts it, then you need to decide how tightly do you want to cinch it down, or how much of a design do you want to press into it. And a good rule of thumb is 1 full rotation and then another half rotation. Depending on what you're doing, depending on which dies, depending on the thickness of the metal, it's all kind of a guessing game. But we're going to do 1.5. So we're just touching that. 1.5. And you can see it wants to twist this way, and I'm having to hold it like this, but this is just scrap metal. I'm going to step on the foot pedal here, let it pull through, and I gotta let go of it so my finger don't get squished. There we go. Okay, now we can see this is the flat and this is the raised, and this is not quite as pronounced as the one we did before. So when I put the workpiece in here, I want to put a little bit more pressure on it so I get a little bit more pronounced of a lip on it. Additionally, the bigger piece of metal, you're going to have to hold on to it a little bit more. It may want to fight you a little bit more. So let me loosen this up, and let me go get my gloves and set that piece in there, and then we'll bead roll out.